What's going on, everyone? This is Kevin here, coming at you with my hands-on and first impressions video of the TCL 40 XL. So without further ado, let's get started. So this is the TCL 40 XL. Now this device was recently launched and it is a very affordable 4G LTE only smartphone. So if you are looking for a phone that does feature 5G connectivity, unfortunately, you're not getting that here. However, considering that this is a very affordable device, we are still getting a lot of interesting features included, and overall, this phone is a pretty decent value. Now to learn more about the TCL 40 XL, take a look at the various links in the video description so that you can see the most up-to-date pricing and availability. Now before I get too far into things here with the TCL 40 XL, let's see what all comes included in the box. So here's the box. You can see the name of the phone right there. Then on the side, we have some of the highlighted specifications, but I'll be going over all of this throughout this video. But included in the box is a USB wall adapter. We also have a USB-C cable for charging and data transfer. We have a SIM card removal tool, and then we also have some literature here for the phone. Now, as the name of the phone does imply, the TCL 40 XL is the successor to last year's TCL 30 XL. Now, I do still have that phone, and I will be comparing this phone to that device in a separate video, so definitely stay tuned for that content. Now, taking a look at the TCL 40 XL, we have a very large 6.75-inch display. So you can see just how big this display is, and in general, we do have pretty small bezels. We do have a notch up top here, but it is a pretty small notch, featuring the 8-megapixel front-facing camera. Now, definitely if you want to use this phone with just one hand, you might find some difficulty considering how big the display is, but considering how most people use their smartphones nowadays, it does seem like the preference is for larger displays, especially because if you want to watch video content or go on social media, this phone is ideal for that. But the display itself is IPS LCD. It is limited at just 60 Hz, but that's not much of a surprise considering that this is an affordable handset. We're also getting a 720p display, so that is a bit unfortunate considering how large the display is, but again, for an affordable smartphone, 720p is acceptable. And then the PPI of this device is 260, and then we are getting a 20:9 aspect ratio. So a more narrow but taller form factor here with the phone. Now this phone is being offered in several different storage configurations. Now this one happens to be 256 gigabytes, which is a lot of storage, and then along with that, we do get microSD card expansion. However, there is also a 128 gigabyte model of the phone, and if this phone does make its way over to prepaid carriers, it is possible there might even be an even lower storage configuration. So that is something worth considering. But I did buy this phone factory unlocked, and if you do go that route, you can definitely get it with 256 gigs. So that's a ton of storage. I'm sure it's more than enough for pretty much anybody watching this video. And of course, you can always offload photos and videos, for example, onto a microSD card to free up some of that internal space if that is necessary. Now with this device, there is no wireless charging, which is a bit unfortunate, but something that I don't expect to find with a phone in this segment. And then with the TCL 40 XL, we do have a fingerprint sensor on the power button. So let's try that right now. It's very fast and responsive. Let's try that one more time. So there we go, very quick. And then in addition to that, this phone does offer face unlock. Now I already mentioned the phone has an 8-megapixel front-facing camera, but then on the back of the device, we are getting a triple camera setup with a 50-megapixel main camera, a 2-megapixel depth sensing camera to help with portrait mode, and a 2-megapixel macro camera for close-up images. Now here's how things look on the camera app. And this is with the main rear camera right now. Now, despite this being a lower end smartphone, we are getting a lot of different photo and video features here with the device. And definitely stay tuned for my dedicated camera tips and tricks video, as I'll be showing you even more functionalities here. But essentially, we have portrait mode to get those nice blurred out backgrounds. We can also then head over to this menu right here, and we can access the super macro mode to get very close up and have things be in really good detail. Now, keep in mind that even though this phone is 50 megapixels for the main camera, it doesn't actually capture photos in that full 50 megapixels by default. Instead, if you want to do that, you have to go to the menu here and then go to high pixel, and then it will capture the images in that full megapixel count. But the reason why 50 megapixels is not the default mode here on the phone is because it just takes up a lot more space on the device, and in general, most people don't really need that functionality. But at least it is there if you do happen to need it. But then heading back over to portrait mode, we can flip around to the front-facing camera and take portrait selfies. So we get that nice blurred out background, and then also we can take standard selfies too. So if you don't want that blurred background, then you can take a regular selfie. Now, just as this phone has different storage configurations being offered, this phone also is offered with different amounts of RAM. So this particular version of the phone does have 6 gigabytes of RAM. However, it does also come in 4 gigabytes. So I'd imagine that if you get the lower storage configuration, you'll also be getting less RAM. So it is something worth keeping in mind. And then the processor here with the phone is the MediaTek Helio G37. Now, as I mentioned, that processor does limit the phone at just 4G LTE, so there is no 5G connectivity here with this device. However, I do feel like at this point in 2023, you can still get away with just 4G LTE. However, you should keep in mind that 5G is definitely the future, so if you do want to kind of future-proof your phone, then you might find some disappointment here since there is no 5G. But beyond that, the processor that we're getting is pretty low end. It doesn't necessarily perform that fast, but for a phone in this segment, a very inexpensive, affordable smartphone, it does get the job done. I think most people that end up getting this device just want a phone that has a decent, large display on it and also is pretty good for phone calls, text messages, and then occasional social media usage. So if that is the case for you, then just know that this phone will perform plenty fast. But at the same time, if you are used to using a faster phone, or if you in general just want a phone that's faster than your current device, then you might not find that here with this particular phone. Now, I did run a benchmark test using Geekbench 6, and I got a single core score of 191, and then a multi-core score of 842. So what I recommend doing is running this test on your current phone, and then compare your scores to these scores to get a better idea of how the TCL 40 XL compares to your current smartphone. Because it is possible this phone could be a lot slower than the device that you currently have. And I'm sure if you're going to be upgrading, you don't want your actual upgrade to be a downgrade. Now, video recording with this phone does max out at 1080p for both the front and rear cameras, but that is pretty much expected for a phone in this segment. And then this device does feature a very large 5,000 milliamp hour internal battery, along with 18 watt fast charging compatibility. So having a battery that large will easily give you a full day, if not multiple days of usage, which is fantastic. So just know that if you are concerned about battery life, this phone has a very large battery, so you'll definitely be getting some solid longevity out of this device. Now, the software on here is Android 13, and it is running TCL Skin. Now, TCL has changed quite a bit with Android as far as their skin goes here, but at the same time, many of the features that they have added are genuinely useful features. And some of them are features that I really can't find with any other device. For example, there are some cool things here. You can tap on this button right there to turn off the display very quickly. Also, heading over in the settings, there's a lot of other various tweaks and modifications done to Android to add in different bonus features. So what I like is with TCL's take on Android, they're pretty much taking what's great about stock Android and they're giving us even more things here, and a lot of these extra bonus features are features that are genuinely useful. Now, unfortunately, with this device, there's no NFC, so if you do like to make mobile contactless payments using tap and pay, you cannot do that here with this phone. But taking a closer look at the hardware of this device, the TCL 40 XL is made completely of plastic, besides the display, which is made of glass. Now, this phone isn't really that exciting. There's nothing overly interesting about it. However, I do appreciate that this material on the back of the phone is more of a matte finish, so it doesn't really pick up any fingerprints. That being said though, since the phone is made of plastic, I do recommend pairing it up with some sort of case, because plastic does get scratched up pretty easily. But taking a look at the left side of the phone, we have the slot for the micro SD card and SIM card. Then on the right side, we have the volume up, volume down, and also the power button, which doubles as the fingerprint sensor. And then up top here, we have the noise canceling microphone, and then also one of the 2 stereo speakers. So that's another cool feature, which I almost forgot to mention. This phone has stereo audio. So what I mean by that is, we have both the main speaker in the bottom here, but also a very large speaker up top. And if you watch videos in horizontal mode, for example, or even if you're just using the phone in general vertically, you're going to be getting audio out of both speakers, giving you a much richer, more immersive audio listening experience. So that's something that you typically don't find on lower end smartphones, and especially phones that are this low end. So that's very impressive. But then also on the bottom of the phone, we have a 3.5mm headphone jack, we have a microphone, and then the USB-C port for charging and data transfer. Then, on the back of the device, we have the triple camera setup, flash, and that's pretty much it. So overall, the TCL 40 XL is a very entry-level phone from the company. But if you are someone who's not looking to spend too much on a smartphone, but at the same time you want a lot of cool features and different abilities, then this phone might be worth considering. Now, I will be making a lot of other videos about this phone on the channel as time goes on, So definitely make sure to hit that sub button and stay tuned for that content. But most importantly, let me know what you think about the TCL 40 XL. Do you feel like this phone is a solid device, or were you hoping to see a little bit more here? But with all that said, this is Kevin, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care and have a great rest of your day.